So if you started learning Illustrator only recently, you might have come across a lot of different tools and tips that might be able to help you learning Illustrator. Here's the tip from my side. The moment if you're learning Illustrator, or for that matter any other software in which you create designs like Figma, Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects or Premiere Pro or anything else for that matter, make sure that you start working on your portfolio from the very beginning. Every design that you do create when you're starting on this journey of learning a new software would be very helpful for you in the long run. So in this video, I'm going to be walking with you to create a simple design with 3 different steps. We will start off by creating an isometric text, create something called patterns in Illustrator, and then follow that up with a new feature in Illustrator called Mockups. Now Mockup as a feature has been launched only in 2023. So if you're watching this video probably in 26 or 27, you might or might not see this as the same technique. But if you're watching this in 2024, I do recommend you to get started or at least try this feature out and put it on your portfolio for the least. So let's begin.
Now the first one is going to be to create an isometric text. Let's get started by creating a new text layer, and let's just call it something simple. Over here, place it in the center, and I've chosen the bold font and I've chosen a large size for this. For the color, I will change this slightly differently for now, and we'll see why this comes in handy later. Now over here, go to Effects, 3D Materials, 3D Classic, Extrude and Bevel. I hope you're following. Then you go to Isometric Top, maybe just change the angle a bit so that it can rotate it from the other side. And I have something like this. Done. This is the text that we have in isometric format. Now to give it some pop, we shall first is to expand appearance. That basically converts it into from a 3D shape into multiple layers. You can see that there are multiple groups that have been created now. And with each of these groups, I can then ungroup it and start working on each of these groups separately. Now, before I move on, to give it a nice set of colors, I will use the coolers.co website. I use that pretty often, just to go there and select a set of colors that you would want. So this is what the website looks like. Create a generator. Let's say I do create a palette which is somewhat poppy, and let's say something bright, maybe like this. Okay, and I will choose a screenshot right from over here, and holding Control on my Mac. If you were on your Windows PC, you could have just pressed Windows Shift and S and take a screenshot. I go back over here and paste it right there. Now these are the colors that I will use as reference. Now with this set, let's start off with selecting the first one. Now I have broken it down into as small groups as possible. This makes it easy for us to work on it. Similarly over here as well, and for this one as well over here. So the top ones, maybe I can just give it a simple color. Let's say this red. Okay, great. Now for the ones below, let's just select all of this at once and give it a different color. Not so great. Looks better somewhat. I like this way better than the others. So there we have it. I do see that there is a one sneaky little guy who has moved out of our purview and changed the color for this one as well. Now with the set, maybe give it a slightly different stroke for all of these. So let's give it some stroke, and now I can give a color over here. If I do select this, choose the color, something like this or this maybe. So there we have it. This is the most simple way of creating an isometric text, and that's how you can create this. So let's get started with the next part, which is called patterns. Now for patterns, I generally go to freepik.com and I can choose a lot of vectors from over here that I can use and recreate to create a new set of patterns. So generally go over here. There is something called vectors. Under vectors, there is something over here. There are lots of options. Let's say I could choose any one of these from over here. There's a large variety available over here. And let's say we get started off with something called leaf vectors. And over here, I do have a lot of options again. Something that has multiple set of options that I can play around with, and it will look nice with my color palette as well. And let's take this one for instance. Now once I download it, free download, and this will create an EPS file that I would want to open up and share in Illustrator. So once with this, I open up Illustrator, and there we have it. Now I have this as a set of different patterns, different flowers that I can create a pattern out of which. So let's do that as well. So over here, I can choose and select, let's say, make this slightly smaller, this one over here as well. Create a replica of this one, and I will flip it on different directions. Transform, reflect, horizontal, okay, and do the same thing again. Do the same thing again with reflect, and this time in horizontal dimensions. Okay, so I have it. I have a small pattern right over here. Now this is still not a pattern that I can use and create to replicate. So what I shall do is select all of these items and go to object, go to pattern, and click on make. Now with this, I have created a new pattern that can be replicated by itself. So there I have it. I can create a new grid. I can create a new grid by slightly different offsets as well if I want, and I can try a couple of variations with all of this as well. So let's say I like this, and there I have it. I have a new pattern that I've created with these leaves. I can close these, close all of this. I can even delete this because now the pattern has been created, and we are good to go with that. Now let me bring back the text from this layer, from this option over here, and bring it over here. I think this is completely okay. And with this, let's create a new rectangle which sort of bounds the entire thing, something like that. There we have a new rectangle, and with this rectangle I will change the fill and give it the pattern that we are talking about. Of course, move it accordingly, and I will make sure that the layers are in proper order. Of course, this now recommends a slight change in the colors, and that's why instead of red, I could probably just select all of these by doing this from over here, and now change the fill to somewhat different color. Let's say I can choose it with the eyedropper tool, and I can choose somewhat of this purple color over here. So there we have a new color. Now with this set, let's move on to the third piece. Illustrator recently came up with something called Mockup feature, which is still in beta phase, in which at the time at which I'm recording this. In the Mockup feature, you should be able to create a new design and put it across as a mockup on a lot of different physical objects. Let's see how that can be done. Now with this, let me select all the layer. This is my layer, and I will go to object, click on mock beta, and click on make. When I do that, it creates a mockup of this text, of this vector, on different mockup options that are available in the settings right now. Now, of course, this is a limited library today, but hopefully in the future, this will be a way bigger library that you should be able to play around with. And once this loads, you can see that this vector has been now applied to different objects over here. Now I have packaging, apparel. You can do that for apparel as well. Let it just load, and you will be able to see how this pans out. Now, of course, there is some sort of a limitation that you can see over here. Mockup currently lacks support for raster artwork, because that's something that we have over here in the image right now, and that's why that's a concern. Otherwise, I think we should be able to click. So let's say if I have created something like this, I can always create a mock-up in my dashboard itself or in my canvas itself and see how this mock-up can be modified. So let's do that. So I can click on this button right over here to generate an object like this, and there I can slightly move across this pattern so that it gets fit on the screen over here. And there I have it. I can move around this slightly so that I can change around how the structure looks like on the entire t-shirt over here that we have selected. And there we have it. This is the type of form, not just apparel. We can also do this on packaging. We can see multiple options. There are digital devices. That means there's a TV, there's a mobile, and there is a laptop screen on which you can put across all of these mockups and try it out for yourself. So once you've created a pattern, you can apply it to any particular shape. In this case, I've applied it on a rectangle over here. Now, similarly, I can do this. I can copy this rectangle because the pattern won't be copied to another project file. So I can copy this rectangle and paste it over here that I already done earlier. So here's what I have. And if I do create a rectangle and probably make it full shape over here, something like this. There I have it. And maybe the rest of the stuff could come above the rectangle and in the center over here. Now with this, maybe just reduce the opacity of the rectangle a little bit, and let's say something like that. Now the third part that we are supposed to see is called mockup. Now Illustrator in the year 2023 brought up this new beta feature, which is to apply your designs on physical objects. You can do that by selecting the entire layer, all of those things that you would want to put up on the object itself. Go to Object, click on Mockup Beta Make. Once you do that, you'll be able to see a lot of different options that are available over here. Now, these are different varieties which are available from Adobe stock right now. You need to purchase it for your individual use or commercial use, but for testing and trying purposes, I think you should always be able to try it out. There are a couple of different options. There is apparel, there is digital devices, that is a laptop, a phone, and a mobile screen as well. There is a laptop, a phone, and a TV screen as well. And there are a couple of other variations for branding, graphics, and packaging. So let's stick with packaging. Now over here, I can see that this design has been applied to all of these objects over here. Let's say I pick up just this mug for testing and trying. Now I can generate this mesh directly by clicking on that edit in canvas mode. And once that happens, I should be able to see on a new layer which has the image and the mockup in a grid form. So there I have that, and you can see that there is the design that we had created. You can make this bigger. Of course, this is going to be slightly slower because we had certain raster objects in our design, and that's why Illustrator is going to be taking slightly longer. But this way, if you're creating something entirely based out of vectors, you should be able to create that quite easily and get done with your first object for the portfolio. I hope this was useful. Very quickly, let's just look at what the final design looks like, and here it is.
So I hope that was useful for you to understand what you're going to be creating and start creating that first design for your portfolio. If you have created your portfolio, well, great. If you haven't, now is your time and this is your sign. So let's do that in the next couple of videos, and I will help you create a couple of more designs that you can put across in your portfolio, whether it's Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, or After Effects. So make sure that you hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that you can follow up with all of these updates as and when I keep on bringing them over here. Till then, have a good night's sleep and make sure that you get aligned with design.